All right, drill, baby, drill. We need more drill, baby, drill. So we welcome back Interior Secretary Doug Burgum. Doug Burgum, how are you? Good to see you. Thank you for doing this. So just to start off, we're at 13.6 million barrels a day. I'm hoping you can get us to 15 million barrels a day. That's what I'm hoping.
Well, absolutely, Larry. And of course, President Trump's energy dominance strategy was designed exactly for a moment like right now. President Trump, with some of all the actions he's taken, has essentially moved the geopolitical center of energy from the Middle East to the Western Hemisphere. And I'm talking about what's been accomplished here at home in the lower 48, what's going on in Alaska, and of course with the success in Venezuela, where you saw they've got production at the highest levels they've had in 7 years now, just 6 months after people said it wasn't possible. But President Trump does the impossible. People say he can't do it, and he does it. And of course, part of energy dominance was sell energy to our friends and allies so they don't have to buy from our adversaries that are waging war or funding terrorism against us. And you've seen the ships lining up to fill up here in America, and that's pushing those exports higher. And of course, every barrel we produce helps lower, every barrel we produce and every barrel we ship out of here helps lower the price around the global price for oil, and that helps lower prices for Americans. So putting supply versus scarcity is President Trump's strategy, and more supply means lower prices, and boy, is it working.
Well, yes, of course. I mean, really, if we put it together, this hemisphere, Canada, USA, Mexico, then we go down south, Europe, Venezuela, Argentina, Brazil, soon to be Guyana. I know they're just starting out, but it's a massive reservoir. I mean, I don't even know what the number is, Doug, but it's a lot more than 15 million barrels a day. I mean, the whole thing. So we'll take care of our domestic needs and our exporting needs. We'll never be dependent on OPEC again.
Well, exactly, and of course, we're very close to that already. Except exceptions, asterisk, state of California at the time of this recent conflict, importing over 60% of their oil from foreign countries. Number one country was Iraq. They were one of the only states that was dependent on the Strait of Hormuz, but that's self-inflicted. Higher prices and less energy security in California. But as a nation, doing a great job. And you mentioned Guyana, of course, they've gone from almost zero production to now over 1 million, heading to 1.5 million barrels a day, fully aligned with the U.S., their administration. So, again, President Trump talks about the age of abundance. We're heading into that right now. He's accomplished something with Iran that has never been accomplished by another president in the last 47 years, and he won a war without putting any boots on the ground. He won an economic blockade beautifully, and then, of course, diplomatically, having all of our countries in the Middle East aligned now with us and with Israel. It's a triple win, doing something that no president's done before. Basically winning the diplomacy, winning economically, and winning militarily. Congratulations, President Trump, on the trifecta.
Secretary, can you give us a sense how many million barrels a day is coming through the Strait of Hormuz? Because last week, the president talked about how we're letting ships through. He said 200 ships, maybe 100 million barrels of oil. I calculated that to be something around 3 million barrels a day. The shortage from the Strait closing was about 20 million barrels a day off of a world base of 100. So now where do you think we are now? Because we're still doing it. Stuff's still coming through every day. Where are we? I mean, Brent, WTI rather, $75, $76 today, which is remarkable. So where are we in the Strait?
Well, I think we've got ourselves in really good position. And of course, that number you're talking about, there was a lot of supply around the world, both floating. China had built up their largest petroleum reserve ever. Some of those stocks, helped keep the price down. Saudi Arabia and others moving some of their production by pipeline, getting past the Gulf that way. Project Freedom, which people thought had been continued, but was going on clandestinely with the support of the U.S. military, moving more barrels out. And then there was was some demand destruction in some parts of the world where prices got too high. People just consumed less. Not here in the U.S., but all in all, this was the best case scenario of a straight closing like ever. I mean, I think it would have beat every economic forecast in terms of the prices. Never even got as high as they were during the Biden administration when we weren't stopping. President Trump essentially stopping Iran getting a nuclear weapon. But think about that. That's like stopping World War III before it happens. President Trump saves the world by getting rid of a nuclear weapon with a terrorist group with an oil field that would have actually used it. So
no, I got it. But when do we recover fully the 20 million, roughly 20 million shortage that occurred because the strait was closed for a couple of months? When, are we halfway there, Secretary? Can we get it in a month or two? What's your guesstimate?
Well, I think again, if some of the places on the spot market in Asia prices stay high, they won't be consuming that full 20. So that takes care of some of it. You're going to see the ships start flowing. And again, you're going to see more people getting their supply from the U.S. So the Strait may have lost some customers. People realize that energy security matters. The U.S. has picked up some customers, and I'm guessing we're going to keep them.
All right. Well, 15 million barrels a day or bust for the USA. Secretary Doug Burgum, I know you can do it, Doug. I'm counting on you. And thanks for coming back on the show. We appreciate it very, very much. All right, folks.